Hello, this is James Francis Peter Marsh. I'd like to talk to you about your identity. Each of us has an identity that we're raised with in the culture we're in, and a lot of people have hyphenated names. I grew up in New York. Most of my friends were Italian, and they were Italian Americans. That's the hyphenated name. When I was about 7, I asked my mother, because I was Irish and Welsh, I said, "Mom, could we become Italian?" She said, "No." "Why?" I said, "They know how to eat. I go to school with jelly and peanut butter, which is all right, but my friends have meatball sandwiches left over." And I said, I would beg them for a bite. "Why can't we be Italian?" She said, "You just can't." And I wished that I could. Can you imagine a man that was using clay and he was spinning on a potter's wheel? I went to school in Artesia, New Mexico back in the 1960s, and I took a subject of pottery, and I thought it'd be an easy 3 credits. And that thing was hard because we had to go dig in the riverbeds in Arroyo and dig out the clay, which was not commercial, and try to fire it in a kiln. It was impossible to get all the air out. And but that potter's wheel, I thought, how could a piece of clay tell the potter what to do? That would be insane. And that's like us. We're made in clay, and God our Father is the potter. And the way He made us, we cannot argue. But I think it's that people are insulting God left and right. When people say, "Well, you're of a certain race, you're no good," that's an insult. God made all the different races. My grandfather came from Wales. His name was William C. Roden, and I have his New Testament, the whole New Testament in Welsh. And he spoke it, he thought it, and when he came here in his late teens, he had to learn English. And he never went back but one time where he had to go back for a court case. And his idea was, well, I'm an American. He came through legally, and he did what he had to do. He became a registered nurse and was in charge of a hospital in White Plains, New York. When he was 91 years old and he got moved to Florida by his son, my uncle, he could hardly see, and he had a record player, and I got him a record, and it was Welsh men singing. I just thought, well, I'll get him this album just so he could be entertained. And when I played that record album, he stood up on the first song at attention, and he stood through the whole song. And after the song, he sat down. I said, "Grandpa, what was that?" He said, "That was the Welsh national anthem." I said, "Oh, and you stood at attention." So I guess it opened a door in his life. But I don't consider myself a Welsh American. I don't go around singing Welsh songs. Now, here's the odd thing. That was on my mother's side of the family. Well, my father's side was Irish. They don't mix too well. My grandmother came on a boat from Ireland as a teenager. She was from Castle Gregory, which is a seaport town in the southwest part of Ireland. Very poor, very poor. And she came here hoping for a new life. And I remember she told me a story once. She said she was hiding in a doorway in New York City because of horseless carriages came by and scared her. Well, those were automobiles. But she had to learn how to be an American. And my father, when I got back from Vietnam, he drank, bless his heart. He was Irish. And the priest would come over every Thursday. His name was Cowan. He'd come with a valise. He'd open his valise and he'd pull out a fifth of 4 Roses. And they would drink that liquor and sing Irish songs all day long. And I'd excuse myself. He'd say, "Oh, Jimmy, don't let it cause you to stumble." I said, "It's not causing me to stumble. I know who I am. You know, you got your life, you live it." And there were times when I had to drive the man home. He was so drunk. But that's the choice that people make, their identity. And I ask you, what is your identity? Are you Afro-American? Have you been to Africa? Do you love it? Are you Asian American? Are you Italian American, like Stevie B with the Italian American word of the day? I love it. But I'm not identified with this earth. For Jesus Christ came and told me, he said, "I got a place in heaven for you. Where I go, you can't come now, but I'm building a mansion." I said, "Okay." I read that. He said, "If you have the Son of God, the Lord Jesus Christ, you have life. You have the life. And nobody could take that from you. And when I die, I have a kingdom that I'm going to. My citizenship," as the Apostle Paul said in Philippians 3:20, he said, "Our citizenship is in heaven. My kingdom is in heaven. My home is in heaven." And the way this world is going, I'm more anxious to go there than ever before. And that's the reality. My identity is in Jesus Christ. So my identity, I'm an American. I served in the Army. That's fine. But I'm not an Irish American, nor am I a Welsh American. Now, if that offends you, I'm sorry. But you have to think through your identity, because it may be stuck in this world. And I expand myself beyond. I'm thankful for the heritage that I have from the Gospels and the New Testament from my grandfather. And my grandmother had faith. My mother had faith. So I exhort you to think this through. Where is your identity? And are you part of the blessed kingdom of the Lord Jesus Christ? Thank you, and I love you. Bye-bye.